Okay, here, Metal Boys. Look at this. The Metal Boy shirts are now on sale. Just go to the video description to find out on how you can purchase one. Metal! The Metal Boys! Yeah! The Metal Boys! All right, the guest on the Metal Boys, Phil X.
Woo!
What's going on, man?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. We're going to talk about Triumph, the reunion. It's phenomenal. We'll talk about your new album. Well, it's been out. It's your latest album, we'll call it, right?
Yeah.
Phil X and the Drills. Right in the Kisser. Is it the Right in the Kisser? Is that it?
Pow, right in the Kisser.
Pow, right in the Kisser. And maybe we'll talk a little bit Bon Jovi, but let's start off things with, how well do you speak Greek?
It's not good. You know what it is? When I was 5, my Greek was amazing because if I wanted to communicate with my grandparents, that's the only way I could because they didn't learn English, you know. And then as the grandparents started passing away, then it was less and less.
Yeah, like both my parents, like you, are Greek, and they came from Greece and they migrated to Canada. They had me here. Well, sorry, they both met here, like you. And when you're at a younger age, you're speaking to your grandparents and to your parents. But then what happens is you hit school and you start speaking English to your parents.
Yeah, exactly.
And they were speaking back to me in Greek, and I would speak back to them in English. And over time.
Yeah, well, you know what's funny is my mom got older. She was the one that lasted the longest. As my mom got older, she would get on the phone and she would speak Greek the whole time because she was just on the phone with my aunt or something speaking Greek.
But
and then it would just extend into the next phone call, which was with me. And I understand her, but I don't speak it because it was so bad. It's kind of embarrassing. I should have my Greek down. I should be teaching my kids Greek. That's what I should be doing.
They didn't make you go to Greek school, did they?
Yeah, they did.
They did?
I even wrote it. Yeah, I was reading and writing Greek in my early, like when I was 9 and 10. Yeah. And then that just got, and then we had this lady come to the house. And it was distracting because she was ba-boom. And that's all you looked at when you're 11 and she's trying to teach you how to read and write. And all you can concentrate on is the heaving on the table. It's like, come on, the bosom, come on. You're 11. You're like, this is like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go to elementary school in English, and then after school, I had to do 2 hours of Greek school.
Wow, 2 hours.
Yeah. After regular school, it was twice a week, and some kids do it on Saturday. It was this whole thing, and they all forced us, and I was like, no, I don't want to go. I want to play hockey in the street with my friends.
Too much, yeah.
And then we went to French immersion school. So now, we're totally screwed up on the languages. And it was just like French, English, and Greek. It was just, but it's good. It's good to know as many languages as possible.
So do you speak all 3 languages?
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, Greek, I probably speak like you. Like, I understand it really well. And, if I don't speak it, it's hard for me. How's that?
Yeah. Well, my sister said when she goes to Greece, she's got it down in a couple of days.
That happens too. So when I go to Greece, I practice, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people speak English there, so they're very lenient, let's say.
Yeah.
So you got to practice your Greek. All right. What does your arm say?
That's my dad Panayotis and my mom Yanula.
That's very cool.
My mom's name was actually Ioana, but my dad called her Yanula, so I went with that.
So translation, Joanna or Joanna?
Joanna. They called her Jenny. It's Jane on her license. Yeah.
Is she still alive?
No, she passed in 21.
Your father's still alive?
My dad passed a long time, way before, like 2005. It's been 20 years.
Wow.
In April, man. That stuff stings, man. It kind of changes you forever. My mom was the worst because she was like, my dad fought cancer for 11 years, and then my mom, it was like 6 weeks from diagnosis to gone. It was way too fast to process. And then I had to go on the road. So, you take all that pain and put it in a box and stick it in here and don't let it out so you can work.
Yeah. It's crazy. That's rough. I'm fortunate. My parents are still around and, they're in their 80s.
Awesome.
So, it's really great. all right, let's talk about mom. I want to play guitar, and they sing what? Did they? Your parents? What was it like saying "Yapliti"? It's like these bums are. You can't be a rock star. Why are you growing your hair like that? Were they okay with that?
Oh, look, you know what? It started with my dad because he played bouzouki. So basically, what I thought it was like, when he was putting a plastic ukulele in my hands when I was 4, I think he wanted accompaniment.
So he was okay
So,
with it. It was like, get him a guitar. Is that what it?
so then when I was 5, and we were a really modest family back in the day, like, 2-bedroom apartment with my mom and dad and 4 kids and sometimes my grandparents. And when I asked for an electric guitar for Christmas, he got me one. So that was his, yeah, if you're in, I'm in. And then by the time I was 8, I had an Elvis set because we all loved Elvis. So I could do sing and play Blue Suede Shoes and Teddy Bear. And I went to a Greek wedding. And my dad was like, "Hey, why don't you play your other songs?" And I was like, "This is way too many people here." And he's like, "The band's taking a break." But my dad was like, he was like a general. He just walked, "Guys, while you're having dinner, my son's gonna play some songs." And he just needs your guitar and your microphone. Done. So I get up there, and I literally thought I was bombing, because everybody was silent. But I found out later that they were in shock because there was no YouTube or anything then. It's
Yeah.
it's like, so I'm this kid, this 8-year-old kid is up there singing and playing Elvis, and and then when I finished, that's when I found out that I was standing ovation, everybody's going crazy, and
Wow.
that was the moment of, this is it.
This is the
I'm
drug.
doing
This is the drug I've
I'm
been
doing
looking for, right?
yeah, I'm doing this.
Wow.
And then it went from Elvis to Ted Nugent. I had the Cat Scratch Fever record, I had the Double Live Gonzo record, I spun them top to bottom when I came home from school. And then it was
Kiss.
even Triumph, like Rock and Roll Machine. It was
Oh yeah.
Black Sabbath, and then later on it was AC/DC. And then when Eddie Van Halen came onto the scene, that was it. I was fortunate enough to see Van Halen in 1980, 81, 82, and 84. Like
Diver down. Diver down.
I saw Women and Children First, Fair Warning, Diver Down, 1984. It was crazy.
Phil, how old
Like,
are you? How old are you?
I'm gonna be 60, dude.
Yeah, okay. You got a few years on me. I'm 56, turning 57. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was my earliest Van Halen concert was Diver Down. So you got
Uh,
to see the two real gold ones, man. Fair
yeah,
warning.
no,
Wow.
Diver Down was one of my faves though. Because it was like that was when, like, Eddie even had, when he played it, when Edward played Toronto, he had a tensor bandage on his picking hand. And we heard that there was either like a motorcycle kerfuddle, or I don't know. Other people say he punched the wall and then went on stage with this tensor bandage on, and he was still mind blowing. And that's when he was kicking the cabinets. That's when he was sprinting across the stage and then running up to a cabinet and drop kicking it while he's playing stupid, amazing guitar, and the cabinets go, and it was like, and he did like 3 or 4 times. It was like people that saw that in person are different people.
You know what? I got to tell you, man. Like I probably saw the show right after you or right before you in Montreal. Diver
Yeah,
Down.
for sure.
I don't remember that, but I do remember being blown away by. There was no phones back then. There was no way to
No,
capture this.
not at all. And seeing the band, you're right. The Women and Children First, the third tour, it was World Invasion. I had, like, I got the T-shirt, I got the program. I'm an idiot. I have a friend, Brian Tishy. Everybody knows him. He's an amazing drummer. I went to his house to track some guitars one time, and he had a stack of these programs of the concerts that he went to when he was a kid. When I was a kid, I'd cut them up and tape the photos to the wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you're not the
Program
only one.
gone,
My,
deleted.
my hockey cards were getting cut up, and we were tossing them and gambling them, and what are you gonna do?
That's
But you don't know. You
crazy.
don't know. You don't know,
You
right?
don't know.
You don't
No,
know.
even guitars. I was talking about guitars in the 6th grade. I borrowed my cousin's uh, Gibson Gold Top Deluxe, and I borrowed it for the talent show, and I loved it. And then I remember him saying, "Hey, I'm getting rid of the guitar." And I'm like, "What do you want for it?" And he said, $450. And that
That's a
now would have
lot.
been worth. Yeah, but the thing is, was both,
Then 450
whether I
was a
got
lot.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
or whether I didn't get it, both roads would lead to frustration because I should have bought the guitar. But if I would have bought that guitar in 19 and when I turned 17, I would have put a Floyd Rose in it.
Mm.
I would have deleted its value for sure.
When you're young, you don't know what the future holds. Did we even know there were going to be phones in the future, right? You don't know. You don't know. And you just kind
Well,
of like living in the moment,
you
right?
don't, man. Look at us. We're talking on our phones. Like even in Blade Runner, where they had flying cars, they still had phone booths.
That's true. So, did your parents ever give you heck about the long hair when you were young? Did you have long hair?
What? Yeah. Well, you know what? They were letting me let it grow for a bit, but then when I was 14, my favorite uncle passed away in a car accident, and that was my first dealing with that kind of thing, where my brother walked in and said, "Hey, Uncle Angelo died in a car accident last night," and you can't at 14, you're like, "What?" And because I was a pallbearer, I had to cut my hair, and I was starting at a new school, and I just became a recluse. I became like I didn't want to be at a new school. I didn't want to deal with this, this passing of a really super close relative, and I just started playing guitar like crazy. And then one time at this new school, this guy there was a dance and there was a DJ, and this kid with a Dean Explorer plugged into an MXR distortion pedal plugged into the DJ system at the end of the school day. And he was just and the one friend I made said, "Hey Phil, you should go ask him if you could play his guitar." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So I say, "Hey man, can I check out your guitar?" And how terrible does an MXR distortion plugged into a PA system for a
Yeah,
DJ sound?
yeah, yeah,
Terrible.
yeah, yeah.
But anyways, I just started playing and I had my head down and I just started everything that I had been working on just started coming out of my fingers and I just nailing everything and playing and playing and playing. And then when I looked up, there was a huge crowd around me freaking out. And it was kind of like, "Ooh." And then I took the guitar off and walked broke my way through the crowd and walked away. And everybody was kind of like, "Who was that masked man?" It was kind of there was, but that was again when you're kind of like this center of power, and people, and it's almost like a magnet. People just get attracted to the source of that power, and that's when I found out how powerful music and powerful and rock and roll is and all that stuff. So, and just kept going. And then before you know it, you have a band, and then you're doing gigs, and then working, and then writing, and all that stuff. Yeah.
How long did it take you from going from, I guess, a garage band to actually, I guess, what was your first real gig? Was that Aldo Nova or was that Triumph?
No, it was even before that. It was a band in Canada called Frozen Ghost.
Oh yeah, Frozen Ghost. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
I mean, I just saw Arnold Laney, the writer, producer. Uh, he was the lead singer. Um, I just saw him last month. We hung out. I stay in touch with everybody. I texted with Aldo Nova last week. I saw Gil obviously last week. Uh, yeah, we're constantly talking, and those are relationships for life. I learned a lot from Arn. He was my first recording act that I played with, that I toured across Canada in an RV. And then Aldo Nova was the first band I toured across America in a bus. And then the Triumph thing happened, and we just had fly dates. It was just 11 fly dates before there was a business, the music business interfered with that new record coming out on a new label, and then there was, the butting of the heads, and then it didn't happen. At the same time, I must add, even on the road with Aldo Nova, when I was in a hotel room and was watching MTV and saw "Man in the Box" by Alice in Chains, I thought to myself, we're over.
It's interesting. Well, first of all, I'm friends with Aldo. He's a great guy. He's this mad genius in Montreal,
He
in the
really
west of
is. Yeah.
Montreal. He's in his little studio. He's this mad genius, but he's a great
Yeah.
guy. He's is a friend, and Blood on the Bricks is the tour you're referring to, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
excellent album. I was working in a record store at the time, and I can tell you, I was excited about the new Aldo Nova album, but it
Yeah,
wasn't. That wasn't the thing anymore. It just that
I know.
style of music. It was just so
Yeah,
sad, right?
it was on its way out. I remember because when we started the 6 month tour, um, we people were coming out and they go, "Hey, we didn't know you had a new record out. We just came out to hear Life is Just a Fantasy." And then 6 months down the road, three singles, three MTV videos later, people were like, "Hey, we didn't know you had a new record out. We just came out to hear Life is Just a Fantasy." I'm like, something's not happening here.
Yeah, it
And
definitely the shift started happening definitely like yeah, about that time.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so but
And
tell
the
me
first
about
single came
yeah,
out.
go ahead,
The
sorry. Yeah.
first single, Blood on the Bricks, came out and did amazing at radio. Got like 150 ads in a week or something, and people were just showing him love because of his history. But then the second single came out at the same time as new Van Halen, new Guns N' Roses, and new Metallica, Enter Sandman. You couldn't compete with that. There was no way. And
Yeah.
then the grunge thing happened.
But there was this shift though. There was definitely
Yeah,
this transition period, right?
yeah, for sure.
I remember that album. I mean, there was video play, there's airplay because you're right. There was this gap between Blood on the Bricks and his whatever. I think it was his third album at the time,
Yeah,
right? Which was Nova's Dream. Was that what it was? The instrumental? Where was I now? Oh yeah. So I mean, the Triumph thing back in the day. This fascinates me. I was still working in the record store. I was working part time, and I remember the Triumph album comes out, and I go, "Wow, a new
yeah,
Triumph album!" And it's only Gil singing, and it was
yeah,
like, and it was definitely not the right time for a new Triumph album. It wasn't that the album was any good. The album was great. It was just
yeah.
not. It was
The
sort
right
of the
time.
Sunset Strip meets Triumph at the wrong time, right? It's like,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny. You never know what's going to happen, and you could just toss whatever music you're making out there and see what happens. But
were
yeah,
you
that was
scared? Were you
the
scared? Like, you didn't got to fill in Rick Emmett's shoes here. I mean, Rick Emmett is
yeah.
a
And
monster.
you know what? I saw Rick. I was a Rick fan when I was a kid, and then I saw the Sporty Kings tour twice, and that was pretty crazy. Because seeing Rick on the Sporty Kings tour on stage, and then when Friday happened, I was like, wait a minute, that guy is 3 feet away from me, and we're doing harmony leads on Fight the Good Fight. That's that's pretty surreal, man. That's like goosebumps, you
And
know?
that's a really good point. You've never played with him. Oh, you never played together, right? On
Yeah,
stage up until that point of the reunion, we'll call
exactly.
it, right? That's
Yeah.
pretty.
And I mean, it was really cool because we rehearsed the day before. I wish we would have, even though it was just three songs, we kept changing endings and arrangements and stuff like that. It would have been good to have 2 days to plow through everything and then jump on stage. I'm still happy with how it came out, but it was just the throw and go. And then everything's on YouTube the next day. Everything's on Facebook and Instagram and all this stuff and every angle. And phones don't sound great. And it's before a hockey game, so there's another pending uh, sense of excitement that's about to happen. So it was really like when it was done. I spoke with Gil on Monday, and I'm like, man, are you guys still buzzing like we are? And he was like, even more. I gotta say, what was really endearing to me after rehearsal? Gil was like, hey, we're all gonna have dinner at
Hmm.
the restaurant at the hotel. So we join us. So we all walked in, and out of 20 people, family, friends, fiancés and boyfriends and girlfriends of his kids and stuff, and Gil and Gil and Rick sitting together, and just like little kids cracking up and stuff like that. It was really endearing to see that. It was like these guys are like, I didn't realize they were the same age. They're both 71 now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I felt like it was really cool. And then their smiles, man, the whole time we were on stage, the smiles were unbelievable. It was really cool to be a part of that. It really was.
How much prep, like from the time you hit the stage from the time that you knew about it that they asked you to participate in? How much was it? A week? Less? Because what I'm hearing from the Triumph camp, it was like less than a week. It all happened, boom, 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 like that.
Yeah, and not only that, like I mean, being a part of it, I can let you in the little behind the scenes thing. You know, Gil says, "Hey, we're gonna play a song," and then it's, "Hey, we're gonna play 3 songs," and I'm like, "I need to know if this is confirmed," and it wasn't. But on Monday, on the Monday preceding the Friday that we played, he was like, "It's not 100% yet, but we're gonna do 3 songs. I want to do Allied Forces, Fight the Good Fight, and Lay It on the Line." And I'm like, okay, cool. So I call Brent and Todd and I say, these are the 3 songs that we're doing. And everybody can get into prep mode and we can prepare those 3 songs. And then Gil said, okay, so I think you guys should just play Allied Forces and Fight the Good Fight. And then me and Rick will jump on stage when we do Lay It on the Line, because it's the playoff song. And we're like, okay, we can do that. Sure. And then so we get to, why don't you tell Rick and Gil to come to rehearsal a little later so Brent, Todd, and I can get it together
Yeah,
where we feel like it's presentable to the OG guys.
of
We want to
course.
blow their minds. We don't want to be like, oh, sorry, I made a mistake. We don't want that, right?
Oh, no.
So we did that. And then somebody walks in and says, oh, by the way, they're playing on all songs. Okay. Now we know arrangements are going to change. That's why I wish we had 2 days. So arrangements are going to change. Okay, I'm ready for that.
You're a pro.
And then Gil walks in and he goes, Philly baby. He always calls me Philly baby. There's never just a Phil or even Philly. There's always a baby there. Philly baby. And I give him a big hug and he goes, so hey, when we go into Magic Power, I'm like, wait, what? Nobody said anything about Magic Power. He goes, well, management wants us to do it instead of Fight the Good Fight. They think it's a bigger song. I'm like, we're not doing Magic Power. And Todd and Brent are even more Canadian than me. They want to make everybody happy. And Todd's like, no, we can. I'm like, shut up. We can do nothing. And then Brent wants to go, what's over? What's going on? Gil's like, we want to do Magic Power. And he goes, well, no, we're not doing Magic Power. Everybody shut up. We prep these 3 songs. That's what we're doing. And Gil goes, you're the boss. Let's go. And that's how it
Gil,
went down.
I love Gilmore. He's a mad genius. That's what I say.
He is a genius, dude.
That
Oh
guy,
my
I've
gosh.
talked to Gil at his studio, Battleworks. I've interviewed him. People don't understand how
No,
intelligent this guy is.
no, they
And
don't get, and about everything too.
about everything. Like I
About
work in IT.
everything.
When I work in IT, he knows his IT. He knows his
Yeah,
AI. He sucks
he
up
knows
everything.
everything. So it worked out great. We worked on the endings together because Rick had some ideas. But Rick is like, even when I wasn't playing with the band, I was playing with my band or doing some solo stuff. And this is how we ended Fight the Good Fight. It's pretty cool. We're like, okay, show us. So we're doing it, and that was really cool. And then the same thing with Lay It on the Line. But you know what? He was very gracious. He goes, I'll do the solo on the record, and then you burn at the end. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll burn at the end. And then I put my hand up, and then everybody knows to go to the ending, and then we end. So that was for Fight the Good Fight and Lay It on the Line. And even the Allied Forces, I was like, hey, do you want to like do a solo? We go back and forth kind of dual thing. And he goes, it's all you. I'm like, wow, okay. All right, I'll take it.
You did, by the way. Like that was, to me, that was the pure essence of rock and roll. You get up on stage, you pulled it off, and what you're feeling is you're still feeling that sort of buzz after the fact. I think
Yeah,
everybody else is too.
yeah,
Not only the
I
guys
think
like
so.
me, but the fans,
Yeah.
the fans who've been waiting for something like this.
Yeah, I think it was super exciting. Um, and then it went like berserk on the internet the next day, right?
Berserk,
It was just
berserk.
nuts. Yeah.
Jeez.
And then, I mean, it would have been nice to have Mike too, everybody thought, but I mean, as great as the health health deal is up in Canada, he just couldn't back out of that appointment that he had because of how it takes forever to get a second appointment or whatever. But I mean, we're talking about all kinds of stuff just to appease everybody's curiosity. There's all kinds of talk going on, so we'll see what happens. We'll see
And
what
that was my
unfolds.
follow up question right there. I go, would you guys do it again? Like, Rick Emmett, we've interviewed him many times on this show, and he's always sort of like, I don't want to travel. I don't want to travel. You know, I'm not really into that sort of touring, but maybe he's got the bug now. I don't know.
Dude, I was just gonna say bug. If he doesn't have the bug after that, I don't know what it would take.
I saw the smile on his face. I saw that smile.
Yeah.
That's not a fake smile, man. That's
No,
the
man,
real
he
deal.
was so happy on that stage, and he really, yeah, everybody showed up, man. It was amazing.
Well, the question becomes, would you do it again? I know what you're going to say.
I mean, obviously, schedule is of importance, because I have other stuff going on. Everybody has. Uh, Todd and Brent have other stuff going on. We're all busy musicians, to keep our lives afloat. But yeah, I mean, I would do it again for sure.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer,
Like,
right?
it's a no-brainer. Yeah.
And you killed the scream on Allied Forces, you know, the mid scream. You killed it. I go, who's going to do it? Is Gil just going to pop out and do that? But you come out and you friggin', it's that scream right on the record, man. You
Yeah,
nailed it.
I almost passed out because I was just right at
That's
the end
pretty
of the
high, though.
solo.
That's pretty high.
Because the energy, it was how long I held it. The pitch is not a problem for me. It was holding it that long because I wanted to hold it as long as the record. But I just finished doing the solo, and I was already like, okay, catch your breath, catch your breath. Here comes the scream, and then I do the scream, and I'm like, oh, I think I'm gonna pass out, and then I was fine.
That makes the song, man. That makes the whole dynamic of the song. That scream.
But
You pulled it off. You did it really good.
Gil mentioned it too. When we were talking about it, he goes, "Dude, the scream! It was perfect pitch and perfect this and the length." And I was like, "Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got the job."
you got the job done. You know what? I will just tell you one thing. I got to say, even your intro to "Lay It on the Line," I think you changed that up a bit, right? It was like you started off fast on "Lay It on the Line," and then it went slow, right, to the quiet part, the
I
intro.
think so. No,
Yeah,
you're right. That was Rick's idea, and it was
that was
because he
good.
wanted to keep the energy. Gil came
That
out
was good.
and he started talking to the audience, and he was getting them amped up for the game, and then Rick was like, "Why we can't go into a ballad after that? So let's rock the chorus big, and then break it down to the. And it's funny because we were doing two different parts because it's a 12 string on the record, and so we needed nobody brought a double neck,
It's okay. I didn't notice. I
so
didn't
so
notice.
he was doing one chord voicing, and I was doing a second chord voicing, and then it all came together. He started singing it, and then Todd hit the notes that he couldn't, and I thought I don't think it could have gone better. I don't think it. We were all happy with the delivery of the entire three songs.
When you looked into the audience, what were their face expressions? What were their expressions like?
Well, it was a lot of people were like, when you see him singing along, that's pretty amazing. Because Lay It on the Line, I mean, people are hearing it 10 times a day because of the playoffs. So when we went into it live, some people are like, this is the band that does that? And, like the younger crowd. And other people were like, Triumph, Triumph, Triumph between every song. Every two songs, there'd be like that in between. So yeah, the energy was palpable. It was like, it was amazing. Yeah.
Well, look, again, I just saw it from the video, the phones that were there,
Yeah.
and you could sense there was an energy there. And the people knew the songs, even when you guys played Fight the Good Fight, which wasn't a big hit, but it was a well-known song, right?
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
great song. It's an amazing track. I mean, I called it. I said Magic Power, Lay It on the Line, and Allied Forces, but I guess there was a little change there,
Well, you were thinking like the management. You know what? I can't get past Magic Power. That video, the video of Magic Power is
The
so
greatest.
bad.
Really?
Have
No
you seen
way.
it?
From Us Festival?
No, the live
Oh,
stuff. Dude, they were on fire at the US Festival. I'm talking about the actual Much Music
okay. The
official
original.
video.
Oh, actually, I
With
don't
with
remember it because I keep watching the Us Festival one, and
like
I
the
still.
stage is a flying V guitar, and there's a girl dancing like from the Fame show or something like that. And it was like, oh,
Check
whose
out
idea was this?
Check out Bon Jovi Runaway if you want to go back in time.
Oh my God. Well, there's that too.
um, when you originally were in Triumph,
Yeah.
How many shows did you play live?
We only did 11 shows. And like I
Wow.
said, they were fly dates. We didn't get to go on a tour or anything. Like we flew to San Antonio and did this thing, which was really amazing. Pat Travers opened up, and then
Yeah.
we flew home, and then we'd fly to, I think we went to Elliott Lake, which was a big outdoor event, and then we flew back, and then it was all treated like that. Um, and then we played the Q107 Rock Awards. That was
Yeah.
'93.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we only did like a few songs, and Sebastian Bach got up and sang Rock and Roll Machine,
Oh,
which
okay.
was really cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. When you did those original shows with Triumph, those 11 shows, was Gil singing everything? Like
He
all the
sang
songs?
he sang all his songs. No. We had Rick Sanders in the band.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay.
Rick Sanders is an amazing singer.
Okay.
He sang Fight the Good Fight, amazing. He sang Lay It on the Line, amazing. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
Gil sang all his songs, except he wanted me to sing I Live for the Weekend. So I sang that. And then Troublemaker, which was on Edge of Excess, and in the Hellraisers 3 movie, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
we should do that song, but I don't want to sing it. Can you sing it? I sang that too. So it was a pretty well-rounded show. It was pretty cool.
Wow. I wish I would have seen that show, but I guess it
I
is
wish I
what it
could find
is.
some YouTube, and it's I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. What a shame. It's what a shame. You think so? Is there any audio of those shows? There
I don't
must
think
be.
so.
Wow.
Well, considering that it was a lot easier to multi-track back then. I mean, sorry, it was a lot harder to multi-track back
Yeah,
then.
today you just
Now
plug
it's
in a
just a
USB,
laptop.
right? Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, you've played with so many people over the years, right? What's your biggest highlight of the artists that you performed with?
You know
I
what?
mean, it's obvious Bon Jovi, but I mean, other than Bon Jovi, right?
Well, I've had a really good year at some events in the last couple of months where I've played with like Steven Tyler and Sammy Hagar and Robin Zander and Glenn Hughes, some of the best singers in the world that still kick ass. It's like
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
So, but I mean, to do an actual gig where, um, oh, you know who else was great? Chris Robinson. We did a show with him,
Oh
and
yeah, cool.
he was fantastic. And you know what? It's funny because I'd played, Jealous Again and not Hard to Handle
Hey
too, but
man, yeah, it's
Remedy. All these
yeah.
songs that I played in cover bands before I moved to LA.
Cool.
We were doing those songs. So when it was like, hey, let's do it with the guy, that's pretty
Pretty
awesome.
big.
So,
Cool.
but it's really amazing. When I was being in the studio and stuff like that, there were so many sessions. Like I didn't meet Alice Cooper when I played on Brutal Planet back in 2000, but I was in the studio with Bob Marlette and the producer, and we were just, when I finally met Alice Cooper, which was later in 2000, I want to say 18.
Mhm.
Um, he goes, "Hey man," I said, "Hey, I'm Phil X. I played all the crazy guitars on Brutal Planet." And he goes, "That was you, man. Bob Marlette couldn't stop talking about you. He said you were like the craziest guitar player he ever recorded." So that was kind of cool when that happened. I mean, that's the best way to meet, right?
And you know
Um,
what? A lot of the metalheads regard Brutal Planet as one of their favorite hard rockin' metal albums to this day,
yeah,
right?
it's really great. There's
Yeah,
some great songs on that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then it's being in the studio. I remember stuff like I did the first Daughtry record before he had a band. So it was me, Josh Freese on drums, and Paul Bushnell on bass, and we created those beds for that record that came out. And I mean, we all still get intellectual property checks every April
Oh,
because
nice.
there's 3 songs on that record that play in every mall in the world 10 times a day.
So that's nice. I
So
mean,
yeah,
Tommy Lee, right? I mean, do you have to pinch yourself because like this is Tommy Lee here? I mean, you guys have
yeah,
become friends over the years?
yeah. Well, he played on our last record.
Yes,
He's on a
yes.
drill song. He's on our third single, and that was easy because I played on all his solo records, and the first one was Methods of Man back in
Yeah, yeah,
1999.
yeah,
So we
yeah, yeah.
always obviously stayed in touch and stuff. So, but asking him to play um, on the drills record, it's kind of like, hey, what do you want to get for lunch? It's kind of like you're just buds, right? And
Plus, he's
and
Greek too. He was born in Athens,
yeah, he's half. His dad,
but he was born in
his
Greece,
mom
so
was
that would make him a
his mom.
full.
Yeah,
If you're born there, you're a
right,
full,
right,
right?
right. Yeah,
So you got
but
your Paisan thing happening here.
well, we'd go. I show up at the studio and we would throw not sentences, just Greek words at each other. Like he'd go "garbuzi," which is watermelon, and I'd go "padofle," which is
With
like a
slippers.
slipper. We just and every day he'd walk in and he'd call me his Greek brother and stuff like that. So, but the relationship was great. But man, who was really amazing
Does
because
he speak Greek, Tommy Lee? Or he just knows a
he's
few
like
words?
he's like Gus.
Yeah, okay. Getting by.
It's minimal. But it's funny. Other artists, like when I got to record with Chris Cornell, that was really
Ah,
incredible
Chris Cornell, what a
because
voice.
yeah, because he it was so iconic, and being in the studio at that time, it was just it was really what made it really amazing for me was uh, he wasn't there when we tracked guitars, but then they called me and they said, "Hey, can you come to the studio tomorrow at 8 o'clock?" And I go, "Well, I have a session," and they're like, "Well, Chris wants to be here when you record solo, and we can do it tomorrow at 8 o'clock." I was like, "Oh, did I say I have something? Yeah, I don't have anything. I'll see you at 8 o'clock." So I came in, and he's sitting on the couch, and I'm listening to all the guitars I had recorded the day before, and he laid down his vocal that day. So I'm hearing his voice and my guitars come out of the near field speaker. So I'm about to explode as a fan, trying to keep it cool. And he's sitting on the couch. And I was like, oh my. God. So I'm like, how do you break the ice with Chris Cornell? And then, so I listen to the thing. I do this thing where I do bazooka tuning, which is I tune the top two strings to the same pitch. So it sounds kind of bazooka-ish. So that's why I call it bazooka tuning.
What is
Anyways,
it,
I
like an
tune
E
that
and an E or a D and a D? What is it?
a B and a B.
A B and a
So I
B.
tune it, and they shake different, right? And I also put them to make it easier to play. I put them in the same nut notch. I don't want to get too technical, but they're both in the B notch, and they fan out to the bridge. But then you can play them both at the same time without having to flatten your finger.
Hmm.
So I start doing a solo with that, and but when I'm solo in the studio, it's like I'm on stage. The engineer and the producer and the artist on the couch, everybody's like an audience member. I'm just going off like I'm on stage. And then so I'm doing the moves because I'm not putting the moves on. This is what happens when I get into that mode. It's just natural. So I'm doing the moves and I'm playing guitar and there's a hair flip and all this fucking shit. Maybe I didn't even have hair, I don't remember. So then Mike Plotnikoff, the engineer, press stop, and I look at Chris and I go, "How was that?" He goes, "I thought it was great, but I think you need more gain." And I was like, "Yeah, but how did it look?" And he laughed, and I'm like, "I broke the ice. Woohoo!"
It helps breaking the ice. You know?
Well, yeah, because then I did another take, and he thought it was perfect, and he stood up because he was so excited. And that's when I realized that he's like 6'3" or 6'4". He was like, "Oh, I always thought he was a little guy, because of his build, but he's tall." So I was like, "Dude, I had no idea you were that tall. I'm shocked." And he goes, "Yeah, I get that a lot." So, but that was an amazing moment. And then I saw him a couple of days later because I came in to do another session and they were mixing that song in Studio B.
Hmm.
And I'm like, "How's it going?" He goes, "I keep telling him to turn up that solo." So it was pretty amazing. And then when he passed, it was so devastating because
Yeah.
I hate being the, "Hey, let's get a selfie in the studio." I hate being that guy, but it's the one I didn't get that I regret, because it'll never happen again. But at the same time, all I wanted to do was listen to the song. So my wife told me, she was crying, I was devastated, and then I just went into to put headphones on and listen to the song that I recorded with him, and I welled up because I thought, wow, man, I really made the intro of that song like super special. Like there was two guitar parts. One was doing one thing, and another guitar with a completely different sound, and harmonics was doing something else, and it totally was a perfect introduction for his vocal coming in the verse. And it was a really proud moment, and a huge pat on the back, like, great job, dude. This sounds amazing. Because sometimes you record songs and you don't listen to them again, and sometimes you do listen to them periodically because it's exciting.
Yeah.
But that was a really amazing moment for me to realize that I had done such a great job.
Did you get any sense that he was depressed or he was lonely or
No,
anything like that?
I think there's a song on the new record that I would have never written before because um, the the drill's lyrical situation is usually about funny ex-girlfriends or
Star Trek.
just air hockey champion of the world, or I wish my beer was as cold as your heart. That's the drill stuff. So I wrote Broken Arrow about suicide. I was like, man, you never know what's going on in somebody's head. You never know. They could be on a world tour. They could be like touring, having the time of their life, or it looks like it. But everybody has demons, right? So, there's one lyric in the song that says, "What's it take for you to shut the voice of reason down?"
Yeah.
And that the voice of reason is, "Hey, no, don't do it. We could pull through. We can make it. We'll make it. Just give it some time." And you just turn that off and proceed with what you intend. And then the rest of the song is like, wow, what's it like? Would you press undo if life had an undo button? Is it what you expected? Is it, but like I said, it's a dark theme for the drills. And I would have never approached that years ago. But it was a time to develop or show more depth in my writing, more dimension.
Yeah, the funny thing about, or the sad thing about suicide is it's to your point, you never know what's going on in people's heads. And
Yeah,
you never know how much they're suffering either. Because you and I
exactly.
might be happy and happy go lucky and never think about suicide, but even though somebody might be happy, that until you're in somebody's shoes, you just don't know what the hell's going on. It's
Well, and you know what? It's funny because we were so almost desensitized to it. Like you'll hear somebody say, "Oh man, I just want to put a bullet in my head," and if you really, really, really put the thought into it, you're like, "Wait, are you serious?"
yeah, yeah. Well, some people are too,
Or
right?
or are you just being literal right now, or
Yeah,
are you
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
it's a phrase,
yeah, yeah.
It's just a phrase to say that, wow, I could end it right now because I'm having such a bad day. But so it's just, you never know, man. You never know what's like I said, demons. Everybody's got demons.
Well, that's the great thing about having we'll call it a solo band, right? Phil X and the Drills. You have
Yeah,
your album that came out. You can go in any direction you want, right? You
yeah,
can even,
exactly.
Way Gone, which I love, is Beam Me Up, Scotty. That's the twist in the humor. It's great, and it works
Yeah.
well, right? It's
Oh,
not,
and the hockey puck in the temple in the second verse.
it's upbeat, it's humorous, it's fun. You could hear it in a pub, you could hear it in a radio, or you could hear it live, and sometimes it's escapism at its best, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What other
That's
songs
why
do?
I love the colors that I went with on this record. I think every song kind of stands up as an emotion that everybody deals with. I find the more relatable songs are, the more people the more people you suck in, and that really happened with this record. I mean, musically, when you ask Tommy Lee to play on a song, you don't want to just throw any song at him and say, "Hey, why don't we play this?" So I really I wanted to pique his interest. So, and I know what he likes. Like when we're in the studio working on his stuff, and me and him, I'm on guitar and he's playing drums, and we're working on an arrangement. I'm like, wow, man, you got some chops. You got some grooves. You got some imaginative fills. I really wanted to capture that on our record. And we did. And I found a video of him doing a drum solo at a Motley Crue solo tour. It was on YouTube, and he went into this groove and I'm like, wow, I'm gonna write a song to that. So I literally wrote "Fake the Day Away" to that groove.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when I sent it to him, just a guitar and vocal. This is the beat I'm hearing, and he sampled what I did and slowed it way down, and he said, "I love it, but this is the tempo." And then when we went into his studio, it was in Calabasas at the time. We slowed it down even more. He goes, "Man, we got to get the heads bobbing." I'm like, "Let's get the heads bobbing. You're the boss. Let's go." So, and then that's the tempo that you hear. And when I hear it now, I can't even imagine it faster. Like he became the the tempo police. and and that song truly needed it. So we played it live. We played in Texas a couple of months ago, and we played that song live, and it killed live. Like I even like, sometimes when you're on stage and stuff sounds really good, you start floating, like you forget you're playing. And I was in the middle of the solo and I stopped playing because I'm like, dude, you gotta keep playing. And here comes the third verse, 2, 3, 4. It's like it's kind of like an outer body experience in ways.
I'm pretty shocked that when Mick Mars, was no longer in the band, they didn't give you a call. Like, the connection, you would have fit perfectly. Not to say
Uh,
John Five is great too. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
I think John Five is amazing. He's a great
yeah,
guitarist.
John Five is amazing.
But
Him
I
and
think you would have
him
fit
and Nikki are
also.
like best friends.
Oh yeah, okay. There's a thing there. There's
But
always a
uh,
thing, right?
but I mean, also they're probably respecting the fact that I play in a band like Bon Jovi, and if we go out, and what if Bon Jovi calls? Is he going to leave to go do that? And
It's a
I
pretty big
mean,
gig, Bon Jovi. It's pretty big, man. You can't get
yeah,
bigger. You can't get bigger. You can't.
it's what I call the mega band. When you play in a mega band, and they call, everything else, you know, falls to the wayside.
My favorite song ever by Bon Jovi to this day will always be Runaway. There's just something about that
Wow,
song. I love Runaway. It's from the first day I heard it, from when it was released till today, is my favorite song by Bon Jovi. What's
it
your favorite
was
song?
it was literally. It literally put them on the map. When I was a kid, I want to say kid, but maybe I was 20 or 22.
I was 16, you were
Slippery
22.
Slippery came out in 88,
Around there. Yeah.
or New
Around
Jersey.
there.
I forget which one came out. I was in a bar, and I heard like Living on a Prayer. First of all, I seen the video, like those three songs back to back. Like it was Runaway. No, no, sorry. It was Bad Name, and then Living on a Prayer, and then Dead or Alive. Like it changed the world.
It changed the world. It changed the
It
world.
changed the world.
It changed
So
the
"Living
world.
on a Prayer" for me is one of is a huge song from my youth. So even though I've played it 300 or 400 times on stage with the band, I still get goosebumps when the talk box, because the audience gets so electric. It's so electric. It's amazing. So that's one of my favorite ones to play live. And Keep the Faith. We have a lot of fun with
It's a
that
great
song
song.
live.
Yeah, it is a
It's
great song.
really like we all take turns blowing at the end. I could use blowing,
You can say
blazing.
blowing, yeah. Blowing's okay.
We're blazing.
I
We're
guess it's
all
politically
blazing at the
correct.
end. I
I
go
don't know.
first because I play the theme, and then blaze. And then David gets on his B3 and he blazes, and then Shanks plays a solo, and then at the end of it, Tico goes crazy. It's an amazing moment in the show.
Blaze of Glory, do you play that song?
Um, we haven't played it live, but we've rehearsed it. I think it might be in the next batch.
Phil, I would say that's my second favorite Bon Jovi. As a solo artist slash Bon Jovi, that's my
Yeah,
favorite song.
that's a great song. His
It's
vocalist is amazing on that. Jeff Beck is on that. You kind of can't go wrong.
and I think Aldo also had a hand in that song too. I'm not sure to what
I think
extent, but I
so.
think he played. And I love
He
Aldo
plays.
too.
He plays some guitars on it. They had Kenny Aronoff on drums, and Tico told me yesterday,
Yeah.
because I'm in Nashville. We were rehearsing, and we played Blaze of Glory yesterday, and he goes, I wrote those drum parts. I'm like, what? So yeah, I had those drum parts, and we demoed it, and then I was out of town or something, so they got Kenny Aronoff to come in, but he just played my parts, and I was like, whoa, um, I didn't know that.
Well,
It's
you're
nice to
learning,
have the
right? You're
inside
learning.
scoop.
When did you first see Bon Jovi live? Did you, or
Wow.
back in the day? I
I
don't know.
did. I think I saw the Keep the Faith tour,
Okay.
and I saw, no, I'm sorry, New Jersey, C&E Grandstand in Toronto that isn't there anymore. And I bought tickets for me and my girlfriend at the time.
Hmm.
And it's funny because if somebody would, it was a huge show. They had catwalks and ramps and things on cables that they could walk over the audience. And it was, I was like, this is the biggest show I've ever seen in my life. And then somebody would have said, "Hey, one day you're gonna be playing with those guys." I would
You
have
know, you,
been,
you know what I like about you, Phil? I'll tell you what I like about you. You're looking at, like, the way you're describing stuff. It's like you're describing it for the first time, and it's through the eye. I don't know what. Maybe I'm trying to phrase this right. With humble eyes, I guess. With sort of, it's discovery eyes. Like, I can't
yeah,
believe I'm here. You're playing one of the biggest bands in the world, right?
yeah.
And I guess maybe it's the word is down to earth, or the phrase is down to earth.
You
A lot
know,
of
it's
people at
funny.
your stage are just kind of like in another world, right? They're
Yeah, but that's the time to be in the other world. The other world is when you're on stage. Like
is
when you
it?
play Wembley Stadium,
Yeah.
we played Wembley Stadium in front of 82,000 people with just the local opener in 2019. And you're on stage, and everybody's got, if they're not, their phone isn't video taping, it's taping, videoing you, it's, the candle is going, and I'll be there for you or something. And or the flashlight. But when you look at an audience that big and you can't see the faces in the top section, but you can see the silhouette, and you're just playing guitar, man. And it's like, this is insane. And I'll never lose that. I'll never lose that.
I think it's because you're Greek. That's why the Greeks have the sense of humbleness.
Yeah.
Some sort of genetic thing. I don't know, but I think it's pretty amazing that you could stay so humble and
Well, I
be in
mean,
such a big band. Like, I mean, like, I don't think the regular person can comprehend this. Like, and it is a drug, right? The audience reaction is a drug. You go on stage to 80,000 people, you need that to keep feeding that drug, right? In a
yeah.
sense.
When we go on the road, I don't sleep for like 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
it's because you can't wait for the first show so you don't sleep. And then you've done a show and you can't sleep because it was so energizing, you know?
You
It's
must have
like
had you must have had a lot of offers over the years to play in big bands, I would think.
yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be a side guy. I wanted to be, I had a band in LA before the Drills. It was called Powder, and we really gave it the effort to really get, into the business and do our thing. But when I was doing that, and then I started the Drills because, of writing. I wanted to write different stuff and sing. And, it's like, I don't want to, people, Tommy was like, "Hey, you got to be in the Methods of Mayhem." And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. But I did do some shows with him when Tommyland the Ride came out. We did Ellen, and we did 3 TV shows in Europe. And then when I came back, it was back to Powder. And it was like, "Hey, we're doing Leno." And I was like, "I can't do Leno. I got a gig with Powder, you know?
Leno.
Yeah. I played Leno with Rob Zombie.
Oh, yes.
It was promoting the House of a Thousand Corpses, and the band, me, Chris Cheney, who's playing with AC/DC now, and Josh Freese, we were make-upped as zombies.
Hmm.
So it was kind of cool. Um, 70s zombies, because we played Brick House and Lionel Richie was there singing with us. So it was rad. That was another great experience. But it's when John called, it's like the Hired Gun
Did he
documentary.
call, or was it a secretary who called, or his
You
administrative
know what?
secretary?
It was John Shanks, actually. John Shanks. We met at Henson because he had a studio at the time, and I was doing a session in Studio D, and he saw me in the hallway, and he was like, "I couldn't stop watching your videos last night. It sounds like you can play and sing anything, and you're funny as fuck." So it was kind of like that, right? And then and then 2 weeks later he goes, "I got your number. I think I have a gig for you." And I was like, "What is it?" And he said, "I can't tell you over the phone. Can you come by my studio tomorrow?" So I go in, and he's like, "Here's a contract. Here's a statement of confidentiality. How do you feel about filling in for Richie Sambora in Bon Jovi?" And I was like, That's not possible. Nobody could do that. He goes, you could do that. And I told John that you were the guy.
Yeah.
So you have 5 seconds. And then the lawyers talked, and I learned the show, and like 90 minutes of, no, sorry, an hour and 90 minutes, 2.5 hours of a show. And then it was April 14th, 2011, John called. And he said, hey, and it was a message because it was an unknown number from New York. So I checked the message and it's Phil X, John Bon Jovi calling. I'm calling. Call me back. And that was it. And then we get on the phone and we talk about it. And he goes, if you show up knowing a 2.5 hour show, we're going to be fine. I'd like to rehearse at the end of the month in New York and then put you on hold for May. And then when I landed in New York to rehearse, they were really short rehearsals too. These guys don't like to rehearse. He said, hey, did you hear about Richie? And I said, no. He goes, yeah, he went into rehab. So it looks like you're doing May. And the first show is 50,000 people this Saturday at the Jazz Fest in New Orleans.
Crazy.
I mean, it's exactly how it went down. And then the next gig was Ottawa, and my sister's
But
girl from Toronto.
you were like the backup goalie, right? The goalie in the waiting.
Yeah.
At first, right?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it was true too, because it was like that. Everybody has a sports analogy. My lawyer, because I was at a peak of session land, and they threw a weekly number at me that I was like, I would make more if I went home, if I stayed home.
So
And
were you actually on the tour waiting, or you were actually
no,
at
no, no.
home waiting on call, like on the call?
I was on call.
You're on
Yeah.
call. Okay.
And but what they said was, you got to learn the show, and you might come out or you might not come out. And if you do come out, it'll probably just be a lengthy sound check to prep for the show. It was kind of like that. So, it's kind of being Superman at the time. And but when my lawyer called him and said, hey, he needs a little more money to do this. And they were like, well, this is what we pay side guys. And my lawyer was like, well, it's not really a side guy thing, is it? It's more of a pinch hitter.
Yeah. That's right.
And they're like, okay.
Yeah. So no, it's every Greek boy's dream from Toronto, like to work with Bon Jovi. I mean,
Yeah. You know how many people say that? People are like, dude, man, you've done so well for a Greek boy from Toronto.
There aren't many. There aren't many, right?
You know what? A lot of people saw me jam at my dad's restaurant every Sunday night, and when I was still in Toronto, and so many of those people are like, "Wow, you've come a long way, man."
You must go when you're around the world. There's always that typical thing. You meet somebody who's Greek. I'm Greek too. Hey, I'm Greek. I'm Greek too. You're Greek.
Yeah.
I'm Greek. Do you speak Greek? Where are your parents from in Greece? Are you married to a
Yeah,
Greek?
everybody wants to know that. But it's funny, but it's there's a sense of ownership. Like there was one time where I was posting a video or something like that, and the comments was like making Canadians proud, and then there'd be a reply to that saying, but he's Greek. And then there'd be a reply to that saying, yeah, but he lives in the US. It's like everybody's fighting.
You're
over
you're not a U.S. citizen still, right? You're
no
a green card.
I have my Canadian passport.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm getting my Greek passport. I'm getting my Greek citizenship. It's very easy, by the way.
Yeah, my brother wants to do that. Yeah,
It's very easy. All you got to do is prove that your parents were born in Greece, and you get your citizenship, and you become a European.
Yeah.
You don't have to pass any tests or anything. It's a fast.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm going to do that. What else?
$70.
Holy shit. Less Canadian, less American.
I'll send you the paperwork. Yeah, listen, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know we've been talking for a while, but what else do you want to plug? Phil X and the Drills, the album came out. Pow Right in the Kisser. What do you want to tell people about that?
Just check it out, man. I've been getting rave reviews from everybody in the industry to people not in the industry, from like Bon Jovi fans. Like I'm a huge Bon Jovi fan, but I love this new Phil X and the Drills record. There's 11 drummers on it, and they're all hot shots, man. They're all like amazing drummers, heroes of mine. You know, like man, Liberty DeVito's on it, Tico Torres is on it. Like there's some, you know, Gary Novak is a friend of mine, but also one of my favorite drummers to rock with when I'm in LA. There's a new kid on the block, Tosh Peterson, who's playing with Lady Gaga now. And in fact, he played on the record before he got the Lady Gaga gig, but he was doing Machine Gun Kelly and Filter and filling in for the guy and Fallout Boy. I mean, he's the new kid on the block and he's an incredible drummer. But every drum track we got on this record is full of feel and personality and just explosiveness. It's just really exciting.
I think that's the right word for the album. It's explosive. It's melodic. It's explosive, and you can't really genre define it in a way, right? It's just a hard rocking album, and it's.
Thanks, man.
You've done a good job.
Thank you.
You've done a great job, actually.
Appreciate it.
And Bon Jovi tour is going to start soon.
There's Toque.
Okay, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know either.
You're rehearsing. You said you're rehearsing. I don't know.
We are rehearsing. I'll let you know when I know. Sometimes I'm the last to know. They're going, "Hey man, you going on tour?" I'm like, "We are."
You know, I did enjoy. I got to say, I'll leave you with this. I really did enjoy the documentary. You know, the Bon Jovi documentary. I think what documentaries that I like are honest ones, and it was very honest, and it was very respectfully honest, and I think that's the word. You know,
it was, and John showed his vulnerability side. Yeah, he was very. He could be that, you're right. The honesty is there, and the editing. Yes, my bro Alex, he cut it like every time we saw it before it was finished at John's house, and we were watching, and I'm like, man, the editing is amazing. So, and then I ended up becoming friends with the editor because he became a fan of me editing me and I became a fan of him watching his edits, so it was pretty amazing.
All right,
but yeah, it's a good watch.
And again, on a last note, we're hoping for another Triumph reunion. We're hoping.
Wow, I'll be juggling a lot in the future.
We're hoping a Triumph reunion, a few one-off shows here and there, right? That wouldn't be such a bad idea.
No, we'll see what happens, man, for sure. But you know what? Thanks for the talk, man. I had a great talk with you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate it. I wish you all the success and the continued success in the future. And hopefully one day you'll play Montreal with Phil X and the Drills.
Woo!
Talk again. All right.
Okay, brother. Take care.